Hey, I'm Keith.
And this is the C race from the 7th of June, and this is actually the first big move of the race. So you can see off the front are Feliciano and Alex, and this is, the second lap?
Second lap, yeah. Skipped the snoozy first lap and are jumping into the action.
Yeah, that first lap was super boring.
It happens.
So I'm already up to, 188 beats per minute there in the...
That's how I usually go in these races, is my heart rate, goes from maybe like 110, like right after I finish warming up. And as soon as the action starts, it just kind of goes to peak and then stays there the rest of the race.
So Keith, how'd you finish in this one?
Not great. I did 8th.
Okay.
I found myself stuck in a breakaway, and then it just didn't pan out. So that's what happens.
Okay. And
How did you do, Jesse?
This was my first win. Yeah, I know. Finally got a win. Finally got to use my sprint at the end of a race.
Yeah, you actually did have a sprint finish.
Yes, it did come down to that. It may not look like much at the end because I'm passing Brian Bates, but he was actually a lapped rider at that point. So, it was pretty cool since it's the second to last crit of the spring season, I guess.
Flying past you for some reason.
Yeah, I think you were trying to establish a break.
Yeah.
But there were some girls in this race. There were 4 of them, right?
3 or... Well, no, there were 3. There was a group of 3 junior girls.
And then one adult.
Just a one adult girl, yeah. Woman, I guess.
Woman, yeah.
Yeah, because they were debating at the start of the race whether or not they should do separate classifications for the women. Because normally we have Jamie in the race, and that's like the only...
She's the only one.
Yeah, she tends to be the only woman, so she just is in the same field.
So
once you get that many, you can kind of split them up.
So I tried a different setup this time. So there's a front cam and a rear cam, but you can see them both pretty equally. And then I used kind of the blank space for the overlay. So you can actually see the course this time.
I like that, yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
It gives a nice way of knowing where we are in the video.
And you can see behind me Mike Baker. I remember her seeing if he would go out to a crit on Memorial Day. I'd asked him if he would ever show up to one of these crits, and he said, maybe.
Fat chance, man.
And then he ends up showing up to this one. And I didn't even realize it until after the race when I looked on Strava, and I was like, oh shit, Mike Baker was in the race. And then I go look through the footage, and I'm like, that's him.
Yeah. Yeah, as we've been getting to the end of the season, the races are getting bigger. Like this, I think was
almost 30 people.
Yeah, this was the biggest C race we've had in a long time.
Yeah, and it was pretty hard. So skipping ahead here, a couple laps in, packs all come back together, and I think you're off the front.
Yeah, at a certain point, I think I tried a couple different attacks, and one kind of stuck. And so it was me and David, just the 2 of us, basically off the front. And I was having a hard time getting him to work. He was sitting on my wheel for most of it.
And I think a guy crashes. Yeah.
Oh, that's the crash.
Yeah, that's the crash.
So this poor guy, this is why C races are dangerous. And I remember, I must be with the pack, because I remember seeing this happen.
He hit the curb.
Yeah, so he...
yeah, you're just a couple wheels up. You're right next to Paul.
So he, I think, made just a little bit of a strong move out of the first turn, and so he had a gap on everyone, and then turns over to see how far away he is, and in that turn leans his bike too much, and his wheels hit the curb, and he just endos. But luckily, he landed in the grass, so he had probably the best soft landing you could have from that crash.
Oh yeah, he just got right back up.
Yeah, but he definitely hit the deck.
Okay, so let's talk power, Keith, because we're only within 3 pounds of each other.
We are.
Right? Even though I'm 5'7", and you're...
day, I had a hamburger for lunch.
You're what, 5'10"?
I'm 5'11". Yeah.
5'11"? Okay, so you're 5'11", and you're only 3 pounds heavier than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the C race, just looking at handy dandy notes here. What was your power for the race?
What was my average power? It was 253 apparently. Normalized 282, so pretty steady effort.
Pretty good. And your max was 980.
That's pretty good for me.
So, don't know where you hit that.
Probably out of one turn or chasing one attack is usually where that happens for me.
And then your average speed for the race was 24.6.
That sounds right, yeah.
So this was a pretty quick race for how windy it was this day.
Real windy, but I tend to get higher speeds, especially if I'm off the front for a bit, because then I'm going, full speed through turns and not waiting for people.
Yeah.
Never really tapping the brakes at all.
So your average was 253. My average was 229 for this race.
That sounds exactly right, since you spent a lot more time in the group.
And what was it? My normalized was 274. So Slightly lower than your normalized of 282.
That's very interesting, though, that your average and normalized are so different. That means you were spiking a lot more. Like, mine was a lot more of a steady state effort.
Because you were off the front for so long that you were holding higher power. But then my max was like 1240, which wasn't that great.
Just a measly 1200.
Just a measly 1240.
Shut up.
Oh, man. But, man, this was a fun race, and it was harder than the B race, I think.
You think so? Well, so things really ramped up. I mean, so I spent a little
while
in the middle. Yeah, I spent a while in the middle trying to get the breakaway to work, and we ended up getting caught, so that was kind of a bust. But we got caught with enough time left over for me to kind of recover and then still be able to do some work at the end. So I think we'll start to see that at the next kind of jump once we get to the last few laps, that I'm actually recovered enough to still kind of help set the pace and kind of lead a group that ends up having both you and me in it to the finish line. Yeah,
and right here I'm just kind of like fake pulling the group, if you want to call it that. I was just kind of taking it easy. Because
Am I up the road then?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that'd be the reason you would.
You're up with David at this point. But you're the one mostly working.
Yeah, like there was one point I actually kind of yelled at him. I was like, "You got to do work, like, hey puppy." I was like, "You need to pull because I cannot sit here and pull you around this entire race." But then he'd get on the front, and I don't know if it was intentional or if that's just kind of how hard he was wanting to pull, but really wasn't carrying me around.
I think he was hoping to save some energy, which is smart, Well,
but he ended up getting third, so it worked.
Yeah. But I think he was just kind of looking for a free ride,
which he definitely got.
He got a good free ride. I mean, you were out there pulling.
Yeah, well, and that's a tough position for me when it's just like me and one other person.
So right now, the RBM guys flew off the front. RBM and Alex. And I see Paul right here in the blue, in the tri-kit, and I'm like, "Hey, Paul, come on, we gotta go." And Paul's like, "Okay, man." And you see Paul working. So this RBM guy, that tall guy, Jeffrey Burnett, he had pulled everybody. And then he burned himself up.
Okay, so it's the RBM guys jumped off, and you had to kind of catch up with them.
We had to bridge.
Back up. Okay.
Yeah. So it's, let's see, who is that? It's me, you, Feliciano, Paul, Alex, David, and who's the guy in the black with the red hat? With the red.
I don't know.
Because that wasn't Mike Baker. I don't think.
But there's no one behind Paul, right? So it's just a small group of us.
Yeah, it's a small group of us, and we're getting pretty close to the end. I mean, we're 9.5 miles into a 10.5 mile race, so we just got basically 2 laps left to go. And right in front of me from Richardson Bike Mart is Michael Zaharis. He ended up getting second in this race, and there's a freaking cat meowing.
They're trying to attack each other. So this is a new development. the cat's trying to attack the dog.
Oh, great. So I just remember at this point I was pretty tired, and I think Paul was too. I mean, you can see it on his face.
Yeah, well, I mean, with you guys having just freshly bridged up to us, that's a lot of work going on there. And I think crossing the lap marker here, I'm gonna put down the pedal because I'm trying to split up this group a little bit, knowing that I've got a group of people on my tail who've started to have some time to recover. Like, let's at least use the last of what I've got to try and just fragment that so that everyone's not really fresh for the finish.
Yeah, and I think at this point, we're two laps out.
Mm-hmm. And I'm on the front still.
You're on the front still.
I can't get off the front.
You're just pulling everybody around. And it was cool being able to race with Paul.
Yeah, no, Paul is a dedicated triathlete. I always ask him questions on Strava.
Duathlete.
Oh,
he doesn't swim.
Oh.
He just does running and biking. He does duathlons.
That's good. Because I don't like triathletes.
So right here, we're passing a bunch of lapped riders.
Yeah, and so I went on their right side because the wind is coming from our left on that one. So,
yeah, and
kind of intentionally trying to get a little bit of a benefit, even though you're not really supposed to draft off of people who are lapped. But we're working
I'd say fairly hard. I mean, you're working harder than everybody else.
I mean, if you're getting up to little peaks of 300 and you're not in the front, we're working pretty hard. Okay, here's everyone going. So this is my
so
big...
this is coming into the last lap. So right now we're on the last lap, and that was the start finish line. It was also really cool to have so many people from Team Bicycles Inc. come out.
Yeah, we've been getting some nice crowds of people there. Yeah,
it was Mike Baker.
Oh, cool.
It was Mike Baker. So yeah, we had quite a few people from Team Bicycles Inc. come out and cheer us on and everything. It was fun for them to be able to watch. My wife was out there taking pictures.
Yeah.
So I think right around through this little top part of the triangle is when you look back and you see me.
Yeah, this is like my last big move. I don't know, I think I got a fly on his hand. And at a certain point, I see you back there, and it's like, I don't want to fight against you. So I pull off, and I sit up, and I'm basically done. I'm going to finish 8th with this at the very end of this.
Yeah, I remember thinking, like, Keith, come on, dude, you're not even going to leave me out? And then Michael Zaharis comes up on my inside, and I'm like, man, he's going to get the better line through the corner. I'm going to have to go really fast to be able to get a decent line.
You still can hold that corner ahead of him, so that's good.
So right here is where I kick it up. Oh, yeah.
Just a real strong sprint at the end.
Just a pretty strong sprint, you know?
So you didn't need my help.
Not too bad. Then I ended up hitting my max heart rate of like 195 after that sprint.
3 minutes later, Jesse died.
Oh, it sure did feel like I was going to die. But yeah, good race.
Yeah, good fun C race.
It was a strong
C
race, yeah. Really strong race. And there's the win.